Every time you go to the store and choose not to buy grapes, you cast a vote for what you believe. You can cast this vote as many times as you want, and the polls never close. These are not family farms we're talking about. These are major corporations, and the only way to get through to them is by not buying grapes.
He was a great leader.
He stands for freedom and for equality and for unity.
The courage to many other people to stand up for their own rights.
He was a hero. He helped everyone.
Contributing to the community and helping others.
When we talk about making a difference, we talk about humanity, we talk about giving your complete time to an organization. That's what we think of Cesar Chavez, a most incredible man that dedicated his complete life to making sure that his heritage were treated in the right way. He founded the unions. He walked 250 miles to Sacramento. He has done so much, an incredible man. Unfortunately, he passed away April the 22nd, 1992. We lost an incredible man, but he left a mark that none of us will forget. He was 100% dedicated his time to his heritage, to make sure they had their rights and to make sure that they got paid so they could have money to put food on the table. Well, we're at Tahara Rahada Farm, out in the mountains here, and it's absolutely fabulous. But the reason we are here is because of Cesar Chavez. Yes, Cesar Chavez started out here, not at this particular farm, but this is where he started picking. He started very young, at 8 years old, when he started his picking. And that's when he realized, after a couple of years, how hard it was, working in the fields all day long, getting paid a very small amount of money. Well, we've got the kids here from Stratham School, and they're out here as an example of what it is like to pick the vegetables and to pick the fruits. So we're going to take you on a little journey with our kids picking all the vegetables, picking all the fruits. The fruits, of course, are the strawberries, we're in the strawberry patch right now. And of course, this is just typical of what it is like out in the fields, out on the farm, what Cesar Chavez stood for. All the kids are so excited. They're picking, hopefully they're picking the red ones, and they're putting in their little baskets all the strawberries. And of course, this is exciting for them. They've never really quite done this before. And of course, to them it is exciting. To Cesar Chavez, it was a job. It was work. 11 years old, he was out here, just like these kids at 11 years old are out here picking strawberries. So why did you come out here today?
To learn how Cesar Chavez felt when he was picking crops.
Cesar Chavez did a tremendous amount of good for the farm workers, because at that time the farm workers had very few rights in dealing with the farmers. Well, I think they all have to understand how these struggles originate and how they progress and how they benefit whatever group that's involved. You know, in this case, Cesar Chavez was beneficial in helping the farm workers, and you know, it's more current history as compared to the labor unions, which originated in the late 1800s and early 1900s. So this is a very current event for them.
We're learning about picking crops and how hard farm workers and farmers work.
And is this what Cesar Chavez started out doing with these kids at this age?
Yes, he started working at a farm since he was, I think, 8 years old. They're learning how hard they work and how hard Cesar Chavez worked.
Cesar Chavez, he did not eat for 25 days.
Today in our classroom, I wanted the kids to really learn to empathize, and so I had them bend over. First, I had them list what they had for dinner, and then we talked about how that got onto their plate. And they said, well, we went to the market and we bought it. And so I had them, well, how did they get to the market? How did it get to the market? So I had them actually bend over for 2 minutes and pretend like they're picking. And they couldn't stand it. They said, oh, Miss my dad. You know, and they were complaining. Right. It's really teaching the concepts of social studies.
Well, this was an incredible example of Cesar Chavez. Yes, this is what he stood for and this is what he did, picking in the fields. He did it for a living. But we have seen our kids today, they have done it for fun, but at least they've learned exactly what he did, where his example was set, and of course it was in the fields picking every day. He started at 8 years old, and of course he went from there and got the unions, got the wages, he got everything for his people, and he did it well. He was very, very successful. I asked if this is continuing in the same way. They said, well, it might not be continuing in the same way, but he sure set an example, and he sure gave them rights, which is what they have now. Well, we're going to take you on to another journey with the performing arts. We'll see you there. We're at Stratham Elementary School, and of course they're performing here today. They've got all the young kids. They've kind of put a whole thing around Cesar Chavez of what he meant, what he did, and who he was. So we're going to go inside and we're going to see what they're doing and the performance they have put on.
That is exactly what I was thinking we should do.
But that is over 250 miles from here.
I know, but that is where California state government is. I will call all television and newspaper reporters I know. They will tell our story, and by the time we get to Sacramento, our voices will be heard.
It was a pretty amazing march. You know, it really demonstrated again the power that existed behind the whole farm worker movement. It demonstrated that, you know, just by merely getting up and saying that, you know, they were going to do it, that they were going to march to Sacramento, they were going to demand dignity and respect, and really accomplishing that, it really demonstrated sort of the power of the entire movement of the struggle.
Dobrosteros. Yes, in Oxnard. Thank you for coming to my home tonight. Cesar is here to talk about the CSO. Cesar?
Thank you. It is true that I came to talk to you tonight. But even more, I came to listen. I want to help you organize citizenship classes so that you can become U.S. citizens and then help you register to vote. I want to ask all Americans to please stop buying California grapes until the growers agree to our conditions.
There you have it. Cesar Chavez and the NFWA have called for a nationwide boycott of grapes.
Cesar used the fast really as it was really a form of sort of personal sacrifice that he, you know, began to internalize. He felt that, you know, in 1968, when there was talk of resorting to violence during the Great Grape Strike, Cesar felt that it was sort of his own obligation to, you know, to sort of take on that sacrifice, take on that struggle in order to then recommit the entire movement to nonviolence.
In a nonviolent way, surely I can do the same.
He is a very determined person. He is especially determined to do what is right. The strike lasted for 5 years, and now the union farm workers have better pay, health insurance, and other benefits. I would say it was a success.
He is Cesar Chavez. He did not fight. You can do it too. Come on, let's go. He is Cesar Chavez. He fought for justice. You can do it too.
Andrew is the gentleman that wrote this play, and what a job he did with it, with all these young people performing it. Well, he knew nothing about Cesar Chavez, and of course now he knows the whole story and what's going on. You know the story pretty well now.
I think so, pretty well. That's right. I didn't. I think I heard the name Cesar Chavez, but I had no idea about the hunger strikes or what he did. And then when I was asked to join in this project, I did some research, of course, and was just thrilled with what I learned about a great man.
Great man. He's a man of honor and courage. And you should really, really learn about this great man because he's done a lot for our country.
Like playing this part of Cesar Chavez, what did it do for you?
It helped me learn a lot about Cesar Chavez. I learned about when was Cesar Chavez ready to be in the Navy, when was Cesar Chavez to be in the Army. I mean, went to work with his family, and I knew when Cesar Chavez was getting ready to marry and getting a responsibility for himself.
Now, why did you go into this play?
because I wanted to learn more about Cesar Chavez and his life, about how he died and how he worked hard to help others.
What's the most prominent thing you remember?
That he didn't eat to listen with him, and that he helped a lot of people and his family.
Well, as you can see behind me, we've got some gentlemen here digging holes, and of course we've just heard what they're doing here. This is Earth Day, and of course we're planting trees for a big project on the river here to make it look beautiful. And of course we've got all the school kids out here from Strathern School and all different schools all over. They've come out here to help and give and donate their time for this. And of course behind this whole project is Cesar Chavez. This is what he started. And of course he was all out for the, Latinos to make sure they got paid right, make sure they had bathrooms, and make sure they were taken care in their everyday life, rather than earning $1 a day, to make sure that they get the right pay and they were treated the right way.
This is the first day of getting the volunteers out, but for 3 years we've been planting trees on the other side of the river and making plans for it, so it has been a process.
Now, why is Cesar Chavez involved in all this? Because he's really sort of the backbone behind all this, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He's an inspiration. He worked the soil, and it pulls in all parts of the community. It pulls in the Latino neighborhood and our culture and our history.
Actually, as they're working, they're like, oh, we feel like farm workers digging and working in the fields and stuff. So they're really excited about it.
This is really like the Cesar Chavez. This is what he was all about, environment.
Right, environment, beautification, and again, contributing to the community and helping others.
This is the culture class, and we're learning about Spanish culture and Hispanic people in general, and so we're learning about the life of Cesar Chavez and his values, and this is a great day to come out and work for the community and give back to the community just as Cesar Chavez did.
And what does Cesar Chavez mean to you?
He was a great supporter of people who worked really hard, and he wanted to make a better life for those people who work really hard, and especially for immigrants. And my family, I come from a family of immigrants, and a lot of my students do, so it's really important for them to see that somebody like Cesar Chavez really helped them out.
Well, the reason we're also very interested in promoting and trying to live up to the legacy of Cesar Chavez is because we're interested in living the legacy of Robert F. Kennedy also, and we want to honor in all the work that we have been doing with the high school kids, the historic friendship between Robert F. Kennedy and Cesar Chavez, and that their ideals were very similar. And all the work that we're doing, the curriculum that we're teaching our students, every service project, we try to emphasize that historic friendship and the values that united the two men.
We're really proud of the kids, their honor for the earth on this Earth Day, and honor for Cesar Chavez and all that he stands for.
Why do you get so many kids involved? What is your motivation?
We want to honor the precepts of Cesar Chavez, and one of those is that the environment needs to be cared for. We need to teach kids about that, and that's why we have kids from the Los Angeles Unified School District working hard. We have kids from Belmont High, from Taft High School, from Strathern, from Brockton, from Wonderland School. They care, and they're all studying about Cesar Chavez and doing something to make a difference.
And what does it do for you to make a difference?
Makes me really proud of the kids, and it makes me happy to have a chance to give these kids the opportunity to learn about what Cesar Chavez stood for and what it all means to make a difference in our community by sacrificing, by putting themselves out hands-on, not just sitting in the classroom and learning, but learning out in the community.
Oh, he was a great man. He did a lot of things for the workers and the farmers, so I guess we got to follow in his footsteps to set an example for other people.
Cesar Chavez was an incredible man, and because, like you said, because of him and because of his legacy, and because students are learning about his legacy, they look up to him, and they want to be here too because of that, to keep his values alive.
Well, haven't we learned a lot about our teenagers and our younger generation, as well as parents, all getting together of Good Earth Day, planting trees and cleaning the river. Yes, it's been incredible watching all these young students out here giving up their time on a Saturday morning. Not only do they get credits, which they do get, but also they're down here because they truly, truly want to see Los Angeles. They want to see this river active again, not so dirty, not so filthy, and also see the trees, which is going to help the environment. We're going to take you over. I think we're going to go over tomorrow into Los Angeles. We've got another project going on down there, and of course this is all to do with Cesar Chavez. We are celebrating Mitzvah Day, and we are down here in the middle of Los Angeles downtown, and they have taken on this project, and it's an incredible garden. They've got this whole corner, and they've got all these young kids from Wonderland School, and they're coming down here, and they're all around here, and they're painting, they're doing all sorts of wonderful things down here. Well, we're going to show you a little later exactly what they are doing. We're going to interview them, find out why they are down here, why they are working on a Sunday.
Mitzvah Day, it means a good deed day. And I have two kids at Wonderland Avenue School. Mitzvah means good deed, and so we're working with Temple Israel all around the city, just doing good deeds around the community. The kids at Wonderland have been studying Cesar Chavez, his history, what he's done. So it wasn't just people think of Cesar Chavez and the Great Boycott back in the 60s, but he also had a philosophy about doing good deeds for the earth, doing good deeds for the community. And so the whole legacy of Cesar Chavez is to honor that commitment to making the world a little nicer, a little more beautiful than you found it.
We're painting some core values of Cesar Chavez.
And what were the values here?
I don't know all of them, but this one is service to others. We should probably help everyone.
What were the 10 sayings that he had?
Determination, service to others, a preference to help the most needy, respect for life, non-violence, sacrifice. That's how I remember. Oh yeah, and community.
Now what are we doing here? You got SISE. What is all this?
Si se puede, yes you can. It was, as you can see, Cesar Chavez. He believed in stopping farm workers and helping farm workers to have their rights. Some farm work owners were treating the farm workers unfairly because they were spraying pesticides on the plants, and there was a certain number of hours that the pesticides had to settle before farm workers could work on the farms. But some of the farm work owners just let the farm workers work on the farms, and then the pesticides spread like disease and sickness.
He was a Mexican farmer.
And what did he do?
He helped other farmers get more money.
Yeah, he's a really nice man. He worked in the farm. He helped other farm workers because they had a bad life and just helping.
It's a thank you and just trying to spread his vision once again through the many generations.
Yeah, he was a great man. Thank Cesar Chavez for doing all this stuff for us.
Well, since it was his dream, we came here down to help fulfill his dream.
Definitely. Why do you want to make a difference?
Because since Cesar Chavez wanted this for the community too, I want to fulfill this also.
What would you do to make a difference in this world?
I would try and make peace, because in the world right now it's there's a lot of things going on, and I want this world to have peace and not so much hate.
Why are we doing this for Cesar Chavez?
Well, one of his values is working in the community and service to the community, and working with an appreciation of different cultures. And so we're part of that program, and I want to be here to make sure the kids understand that I believe it too.
I think he's done incredible things. I mean, he's just every quote that I read from him is amazing, and I want to put it up on my wall. So, and I think he's really helped to bring the Latino community together, and I think he's really brought attention to a lot of the problems that they've had over the years.
And it's a really great thing because,
all cultures, all races, all income backgrounds, they could get together and do something wonderful like this. Well, the students that are here from the other schools, they have actually gotten a grant. So they're studying Cesar Chavez and doing his deeds of service for the people. We also have the Clean and Green, who actually comes in, and they have Cesar Chavez Day, Service Day here. And they come in and weed, and they take out, to help us out, just, keeping the garden in order. So to us, because we follow Cesar Chavez, we were actually, a lot of our members were actually part of the marches and supported him in all his efforts, that for us, Cesar Chavez is still a part of this garden too.
Well, what an incredible journey we are going through. Yes, we are over here at the gardens. We're in the middle of downtown Los Angeles. We've got all the kids from Wonderland School have come down here just to show everybody that they do come out and work. They do their community work. And also they're celebrating Cesar Chavez and what he stood for and his vision. They're making sure that this vision does continue. Well, we're at Wonderland School. We're up here, and apparently they're going to have they've got a program going on, and everybody's here to find out and to help on the Cesar Chavez program. There's a festival coming up at the end of this month, and we're going to go upstairs and we're going to listen to what the teachers have to say and what is this all about.
I feel that it's so important, racial unity, and in that Cesar Chavez was Mexican American. However, I feel like it's important to express to the children that you don't have to be Mexican American to appreciate his life and his legacy, and I think it's so important to get that out to the diverse demographics of students that we have within LA Unified.
Or most of us are from immigrant families, and I think that my grandparents were farmers, and they had a real sense of the earth, and being city kids, these kids have no real idea of why these people were fighting so hard and how much work it is to actually work in the fields.
I'm thoughtful about the fact that one of the significant aspects of this program is that many young people today don't have a good sense of heroes. The heroes that they think about are the heroes that may be people who've gone years and years by. And Mr. Chavez represents such a relevant hero for now that it's not like he's been gone 10, 20, 30 years. And for them to have the opportunity to see what sacrifice this man made in his life, and to then perhaps be able to think a little bit about what sacrifices that possibly they could make on their own to make their communities, their families a better place. I think it's just an amazing opportunity.
It's a wonderful opportunity for the teachers to be working with other organizations, which is part of what we explained today, to try to get some mentorships going. Older kids in our school, for example, which is a K-5 school, try to get older kids working with our kids so that they see good models for staying in school and working hard and so forth, and also thinking about some of the values of Cesar Chavez and how that relates to future life, working hard, helping other people. Well, I happened to grow up during a time when he was very active, and I remember some of the great boycotts and so forth, because here was a man who was really dedicated to his people and felt that they were taken advantage of, that their health services weren't taken care of, and he committed his whole life to service to his community. I think he's a wonderful model for all of us in terms of reaching out to others and helping others, especially if we're able to. He's a wonderful model, and he's not that far removed from a lot of the families. The parents of children here certainly grew up during my time.
Well, if we didn't know who Cesar Chavez was before, we sure know now. The comments and what they are doing for this man, but it's not what we're doing for this man, it's what this man did for us. He sure opened up an awful lot of avenues. He let us realize what community giving is and what giving is of one person, and he gave. we're celebrating Cesar Chavez's birthday today. Yes, this is his official birthday. It's going to be on a Monday, and I believe it'll be on the 1st of April.
He gave us work. He got us jobs for us to work. He improved our pages.
Do you understand a little bit more now that we're celebrating and bringing his name out?
Yeah, I get more knowledge of it. I understand what he really did for us and how it helped us a lot.
Now, I've noticed we've been planting some grass behind us. What is all that for?
It's just, you know how the farm workers, they used to work on that? It's just to represent a little bit of everything he did. Like you could see the murals and everything out there.
He did a lot of stuff, like boycott when he was little. Then he wanted to take for Cesar Chavez.
It is important that the legacy of Cesar Chavez lives on. Not only was he an important leader for the farm workers of America, but he was an example for the youth of today. His great accomplishments have inspired many young leaders like myself. As Mr. Chavez gave of himself in service to the community, so we commit ourselves to the service of our school and our community.
He spent time with us. We saw, he spoke to us about the great boycott. He spoke to us about the injustice that were going on with farm workers. And as students, we felt that it was very inspiring. So inspiring that many of us have dedicated our lives to public service. You know, we have been involved in politics, we've been involved in the community, work in nonprofit organizations, because of his motivation, because of his spirit, you know, as a crusader for the community, for those individuals that need people to help them and assist them. So, you know, that was the legacy that he brought to me, you know, when I first met him. And he said that, he told me, well, he said the importance is to work for the people to make a better life for them.
Cesar Chavez represents for me not only a very important piece of our history, but he represents an illustration of a man who said, the material things I accumulate are not what are important. It's the service that I give to mankind.
It's really fitting that you have kids go out and work with their hands and improve their schools. And I think that if you look at my father's, at his life and his work, it was really about going out and making a change and leaving this world a little bit better than what you found it. And I think that the spirit of that is captured here today with these children. I can remember we were children, so we used to march during weekends, but I can remember the pilgrimages. And after he passed away, on the first anniversary of his passing, we did another march from Delano to Sacramento, 300 miles. It's incredible. I never really understood the strength of a march, of a pilgrimage, until you're involved. We would be walking up the Central Valley, and people would come out of their houses, and they would offer you. They have little to eat, and they'd offer whatever they have to you. We would pull in, and we didn't have places to stay, but we just knew that there was a lot of good people out there, and people would come and offer their homes, and in the morning would give us a lunch and send us off for the next leg of the trip. But
the greatest thing you remember about your dad?
You know, in retrospect, it had to be the faith he had in me. Now, when I say me, it just wasn't me. It was in people in general, and I appreciate that a lot more now than I did earlier on. You know, my father had tremendous faith in regular people's ability to rise to the challenge and do the right things.
So today we honor Cesar Chavez. We honor the man, we honor the legacy. We honor both exactly as Cesar would want, volunteering to improve our communities.
I had the great honor of working with Cesar Chavez in the 70s. He was trying to represent farm workers. I don't think anyone works harder on our planet than people harvesting our food in the hot sun all day. He was just a wonderful, honest, humble man. And his life service are probably the most hardworking people on the planet. I had a chance to talk to a couple of kids who were planting a garden as we walked in. I said, would you like to do that all day? And they said, no, man, I want to get back into class. That is hard work, and he represented some of the hardest working people on the planet. The reason I signed this bill honoring his memory was my tremendous affection and respect for him.
Mexican Cultural Institute is proud to celebrate for the second year in a row the annual day in commemoration of Cesar Chavez's birthday.
We're celebrating Easter today as well, and I kind of wonder how that would go. But Cesar Chavez was such a spiritual man. He was very religious, followed the Catholic Church, and much of his movement was actually following the belief of the Church. So I thought it was very appropriate that we celebrate Easter, the birth of Christ, the resurrection of Christ, along with the birth of Cesar Chavez in his very well. In his marches, particularly when the culmination of them with so many national leaders like Robert Kennedy and Ted Kennedy came and joined him in his conviction of nonviolence through marches and through fasts, and really the American public across the country, literally across the country, supported the boycotts of the farm workers union, supported the organizing for better wages for the people who put food on our tables. And it really inspired people, and I feel that Cesar probably was very proud of the fact that he said, yes, this is important to do. And I think in the end he said this is mission in life, and he dedicated his entire life to the work.
He held strikes, marches, fast boycotts, demonstrations, and confrontations. The backing of the public added greatly to the downfall of the Pros, who in 1970 gathered at the farm workers' headquarters to join Cesar Chavez in an unexpected event, the signing of the first farm paper contract in history. Cesar Chavez was a great man and leader. He will live in our hearts and minds forever. Viva Cesar!
He stood up for his rights and for the rights that many other people stand up, and then he helped out too to get the courage to many other people stand up for their own rights. That was really difficult at that time. So if you were standing up to your own manager, they'll fire you or they'll do something really harmful. And it was really great about that man, that courage.
I just want to say enough of what the Cultural Affairs Department does. We celebrate the arts, we celebrate history, we celebrate people, and we celebrate our cultures. And this afternoon I'm be with you on this day to celebrate the history and legacy contributions of important heroes. Our children need heroes. They come in all sizes, colors, and shapes. And today we're happy to have with us these young people in celebration of Cesar Chavez, a great American hero.
He made a lot of sacrifices. He went without food, and he was such a soft-spoken person, but he was determined. If he had power, they let kind of a leader knew that he had to go ahead and do things for the people. So he had like Gandhi that he looked up to, and he had his ways of nonviolence, and he continued with that, and that was really powerful.
And how he helped so many people that couldn't stand up for themselves. I mean, he kind of gave him a little push. Everything just kind of kept going after that. So, I mean, it was hard for many people, but kind of, he put it out there, we're human, we need rights, we need to be treated better.
I think everything that he's done is great, but I think that the fact that he helped a lot of people and he actually helped a lot people to get better life, better education, and rights.
Number one, I think it gives him his rightful place in history, that we honor somebody that's done something very great. If he were here today, embarrassed about people saying all these wonderful things, I think he was a good man, he did great things. But I think what's important for all of us to realize, he was not just a Mexican leader, where some people like to marginalize that. He was a leader for all, and he made things better for everyone.
I think it's a great leader, somebody who everybody should look up to, and that hopefully in our community be more of Cesar Chavez, other future generations that will do the same work that he did.
I think that he's a great person,
and hopefully there should be other leaders just like him. I think that the legacy that he
he left should be followed, not just there.
I have Olivia Chavez Alando with me, granddaughter of Cesar Chavez.
Oh, it's incredibly exciting. It's inspirational to see how even after his death, so many people still carry on his mission and are still brought out of their homes and brought to community festivals such as these, just because they're motivated by what he did with his life.
He taught me to be myself and to respect others under all circumstances, the main one being nonviolence. As well, he taught all of his grandchildren that violence is not the solution, and he understood that by reading books such as Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi.
What was the greatest thing you admired about your grandfather, what he did?
His courage to go up against big hot shots.
Yes, during the Great Depression, as did many families throughout sort of the Chavez family did lose their farm due to, again, sort of the economic environment in the U.S. And so they were forced to sort of pick up and become migrant farm workers. And that's when they moved to California and went through the seasonal circuit with the rest of the farm workers during that time.
He understood that there needed to be a change. He understood that where the way that workers were living and the way that working people were living and the way that the working conditions they were working under were absolutely unacceptable, especially in the United States. And he understood also that someone as common as him could make a change if he just persevered throughout his life and if he just had the right message and got people to come with him and if he led the fight in the correct way.
It was a pretty amazing march. It really demonstrated again the power that existed behind the whole farm worker movement. It demonstrated that, just by merely getting up and saying that, they were going to do it, that they were going to march, they were going to march to Sacramento, they were going to demand dignity and respect, and really accomplishing that, it really demonstrated the power of the entire movement of the struggle. Sort of, Cesar's fasts are the most misunderstood portion of his whole legacy. I think that Cesar used the fast really as it was really a form of sort of personal sacrifice that he began to internalize. He felt that, in 1968, when there was talk of resorting to violence during the Great Grape Strike, Cesar felt that it was sort of his own obligation to sort of take on that sacrifice, take on that that struggle in order to then recommit the entire movement to nonviolence. And so it was really a very personal and spiritual thing, much of sort of a as well.
The greatest impact was that even though he was working constantly, he always had time for his family. Always had time for his family. Nights where he would come home at 11:30 at night, and he would have to gone to work at 4 in the morning and coming home at 11:30 and still having time to play with his grandchildren.
What's the most memorable thing you can think of about your grandfather?
One of the things that was really special that I remember was spending time with him one afternoon. He had taken all of us grandchildren for a hike up this one mountain that he really enjoyed to hike up, and we went to this little cave and we all sat around together, and he told us, well, we're going to make music now, and all of us were like, well, we can't make music, we don't know how to make music, none of us play an instrument. And he's like, yes, you can do anything that you want to do. And so he brought some little soda cans and rocks, and sure enough, we sat there and we made music. It was really inspiring for me. It sort of showed me that, well, you know what, I really can do anything that I set my mind to. He had studied Gandhi, he studied his philosophies and his teachings, and he knew that, that was something that did bring out, actual results for people. Well, he was jailed numerous times. whether it was for, violating a court injunction that was impinging on his First Amendment rights, or, whether it was for, enacting a sit-in in someone's office. He was constantly, definitely pushing the envelope and testing people. But, again, if you look at sort of what he was attempting to accomplish, it was, again, basic justice, equality, human rights. And so, although he was sort of was arrested at times, it was always just, again, for the good of the cause.
I don't know how conscious decision it was, but I think that he knew that things just weren't right. And he had a very keen sense of right and wrong. And I think we all do, though. See, my father had tremendous faith in people. He believed that you could send somebody who didn't speak English from California back east and talk to them about the plight that farm workers have in California and convince them not to buy grapes. That talks about tremendous faith in people, and I think that that's really who my father was. He believed that everybody had a contribution to make, and that people were basically good and they would do the right thing given the opportunity.
I think that he felt, again, sort of a personal obligation to do it. He knew that if he didn't do it, then, there really wasn't anyone else there to do it. I think that, he sort of saw himself as a way to set that example for others. I think one thing that I know he saw and thought about very deeply is that how could he ask someone to do something that he himself wasn't willing to do? And so he took that on.
So he set the example for what they could. What message would you give to all the Latinos out there today? The example of what your grandfather did.
Well, I hope that they can carry with them throughout their entire lives, no matter what they choose to do, this notion of se puede, yes, it can be done. I think that that's something that he instilled in not only his family, but in everyone that he touched and that he worked with, is this notion that no matter who I am, no matter what it is I set out to do, I can do it as long as, as long as I work hard, as long as I make that commitment myself, that I can go out and really, accomplish anything I set out to do.
And what would you like to all the children out there, 11 years old, because he was 11 when he started work, all the young kids, what would you like to tell them?
I would like to tell them that an education is a very important thing to continue to, continue to stay focused in your education, but ensure that education isn't the end. I know one of Cesar's famous quotes is, the end of all education should surely be service to others, and so that's something that I hope, people really sort of adopt and develop through the Chavez Day of Service and Learning.
If you looked at my father's life in material, in money type of numbers, right? He wasn't very successful. He didn't earn more than $6,000 in a year. He never owned a house or a car. And he only went to the 8th grade. Yet, when he passed away in 1993, more than 50,000 people joined us to help bury him that day. And so, I as a son, I began to look at why people were drawn to him. And I have to believe that people were drawn to him because my father was an ordinary man. If you didn't know who he was, today he could easily be lost in this crowd. He wasn't a great speech maker. He wasn't a big man. But I believe that people saw in my father their own father, their brothers, their uncles, their next door neighbors, all with that same hope for a better future for their children.
The difference one man can make in the lifetime of the Latino community and the Mexican community is incredible. This man dedicated his entire life from 11 years old till he died. He died the 22nd of April, 1992, and he sure left a legacy with him. He made sure that the Latinos had their rights and their unions, and they had food on the table. He made a big difference in the community.
was a great leader.
He stands for freedom and for equality and for unity.
The courage to many other people to stand up for their own rights.
He was a hero. He helped everyone.
Contributing to the community and helping others.
Somewhere, somehow, these are never going to be the same. It's very important to us that people that they participate and that they're never afraid to some principle and stand by that principle.